So we will continue on with part 2 of how we can create a navigator tool in Chart.js. And what we're going to do now is putting here basically the two circles. We're going to draw those two circles here that later on will allow us to drag them to zoom in, zoom out. So to do this, we're going to continue on in our plugin. Here we have this part so far. So what we're going to do here is create a circle. And to create a circle, we need to have one thing here that I just put it here above. We're going to say constant angle equals math.pi divided by 180 degrees. So what I'm doing here is basically, I need to create a full circle. So I'm going to use pi for that. But 1 pi equals a half circle. And a half circle equals 180 degrees. So 2 pi would be 360. All right, so you have that logic here. Then next, we're going to say here, circle left. Then we say here, circle right. So what I'm going to do now is in here, we can say ctx.save. I'm going to create a new shape, which is going to say here ctx.begin path. And then in this begin path, we're going to create a circle. So we're going to say ctx.arc. And this arc here contains 5 variables, or could be 6, but 5 are essential. Number 1 is the x and y coordinates. Then what I would like to have here as well is the radius. So how many pixel radius this will be. Once we have that, we're going to say the angle start, let's call it like that, and then angle end. And once we did that one, this is the 6th one. We will not use that here. Would be counterclockwise, true or false. In this case, I'll just leave it as false. We don't use that at all. We don't have to pay attention on that. So what we know here is that for the angle, we're going to make a full angle. We say here angle multiplied by 100 by 360, because we're going to make a full circle, and we start at 0. So we could multiply the angle by 0, but that is still 0, so no need to put in that. For the radius, we're going to give this a, let's say, a 10 pixel radius. And then here now, we need to calculate what is the x and y coordinates. So for the x and y coordinates here, we're going to work on, we have to calculate this point here. Basically, all we need to know is the height. And we can just say the height divided by 2. That should be at least for the y. So let's do that one first. That's the easiest one. Because the height divided by 2. Then what we need here would be the left side and the right side. Since this is circle left, we're going to focus on the left. So we can just say here left. That makes it very easy. So once we did this, then we're going to say here ctx.stroke to draw the line. So next we can do here is to give it a color, but let's put this in here first, refresh, there we are. All right, so it's interesting, we have it on the height divided by 2, and it doesn't really do as expected. It's basically drawing here. So let's fine tune it a little bit. So what we have to consider here is the following, is probably we have here, as you can see, a bit of space. So I want to add up the top here. So I say plus the top. So whatever that space is, that's being calculated. So from that space, and then it divides by 2. And then we should have a proper center. There we are. So that looks quite nice. What I would like to do here now is make this a bit more thicker so it's more clear. So what we're going to do here is, we can say here, ctx.stroke style. And we can get it a color. What I will do is just for the sake of it, I'm just going to grab this color. But we'll make sure that this is a solid red color. Let's save that, refresh. There we are, so that matches. Next, what I would like to do is make it a bit thicker so it's clear. So we're going to say here ctx.line width. By default, it is 1 pixel. Let's give it a 3 pixels. Let's save that, refresh. That is honestly a bit too thick, so let's increase that one. There we are. Alright, so that works well. I'm even convinced that maybe this should be 12 pixels just to make it a little bit bigger, and that looks a bit more nicer. Alright, so now we have this. I can imagine you would like to have a center as well with a color. For now, I'll just give this a white color. So we're going to say ctx.fill style for the background color, and this will be just white. just straight up white, no transparency, nothing at all. And all right, so there we are. Doesn't work yet because we have here the ctx.stroke. This means it will only draw the lines, but not the fill shape. So we're going to say ctx.fill, just like here, to draw the filler shape. There we are. I think that looks a bit more better. And then although the line width looks overlapping. So the reason why this overlaps is because it draws first this and then that. So what we want to do is change this order. We're going to cut out this, move it in there, save, and then it will first draw the background and then the border lines. And that looks quite good. So now we have this here. So the next thing what I would like to do here is, well, what we could do here with this, we can just simplify this maybe with a variable, say here constant circle y position will be equal to that. Alright, so once we did this, refresh this just same, we are going to do now the exact same logic, but then for the circle on the right. So we're going to do this, but then here we can say on the right side. Once we did that, we have this as well. There we are. Alright, so now we have this here, and as you can see here, the difference between them is absolutely minimal. What would make sense is to restructure this so it can be more, I guess, do not repeat yourself or dry. So what we're going to do is just going to create a function. We're going to say this function will be the circle, I guess, what is the right term for it? And circle is fine, let's leave it as circle, and then we're going to focus specifically on the x coordinate, which is this one here, because everything else is basically the same. And of course this circle y needs to be in here and there. So this could be even circle x. Anyway, it doesn't matter, we just keep it as an x for now, and we say x will be this, and then I'll just skip this for now. And we're going to make this function in here. Let's cut this out, put it in there. And what we're going to do now is put in this value that's in there. So what we can do here now, once we have this function, we could do the following. I'm going to say here, circle x. And this will be left. And we could probably do another one for the right position. If I save this, refresh, there we are. Now that looks a bit more better. So the last thing what I would like to do is put in these lines. So we could do an arrow, but I think having just two lines make more sense because the arrow would point to the left side or right side while you can move them both ways. So having just two straight lines would be more practical. So what I'm going to do in here, you're going to create a new begin path or begin basically a new shape, and this shape will be a line as well. So we're going to get the stroke style, but we're going to make this one gray, and then we can say after gray we're going to say and then once we have the gray part here, we want to make the line width maybe 2 as well, or we can do 1. Let's keep it on 2 for now. And then we're going to say here we're going to put in here the stroke because we're going to draw on this line, but now we need to put in the position. So what I would like to do for the line is we have 2 lines here and here. So we don't have anything in the center, but maybe a few pixels away from the center. So what I'm going to do here is ctx.move to, and then I'm just going to grab, we have the x and y variable here, so this will be that's the left side. We have the circle here. We know that the radius is 12, meaning from this to this, or at least this to here, is 12 pixels, and then from here to there is another 12. So total, the diameter is 24, but the radius, half one, is 12. So we can work from there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say x coordinate, and this x coordinate will be, let's say if x, what we have to do here, we have to think carefully here because I want to be in the center and then back a few pixels. So what I'm going to say here, I will say plus instead of 12, because that's the exact center. I'm going to say plus 10. I think that will be, or maybe plus 9. So we have something here. But then I want to start somewhere up here. So what I will do is for the y, I'm going to grab the y, and I'm going to do minus. And this can be maybe minus 3 as well. So let's see how that will work. Then I will do the exact same. I'll keep this because it's a vertical line. So this will keep this same. But this one here is going downwards. So we can say here plus 3 just to get this working. And of course, not like that. My bad. So say ctx at line 2. So we have a connecting line putting here. All right, so that should work. Let's start to look. All right, surprisingly enough, that this is really, really bad. We are way off. So x would be, I guess x is already in the center. And I realize that is because it starts in here. So that's my bad. So what we can do here, then it will be very straightforward, is just maybe plus 3, save. There we are, and then maybe this could be 4 and 4. All right, then what I would like to do is we're going to do the same, but now we say begin path again. And what I would do is maybe move this one up so we don't have to reset the coloring. And we can just copy all of this, put it in there, and then we say here negative, or maybe we do this plus, and this one will be negative. If you do negative, it will move it here as well. So let's save that, refresh. There we are. So now we have these two lines. Could be maybe with a more narrow lines, probably more nicer. That's all right. So we have this one here and that one there, and that's it. So now we're done with this. We have to now make this responsive, and that will be in the next video.